Now, some really interesting news. They DHS, I think of DHS, they publish these federal regulations, updates on how they're going to interpret the I-212, not I-212, the INA 212 field of inadmissibility under terrorism. And in particular, they're updating this for Afghanistan to say that, if you're forced to do something, or it was like nothing, something big, or this and that, they're going to loosen it and give more discretion and be able to get a visa approved. And so it's interesting. They essentially doing a light waiver, but essentially came out for Afghanistan. But there's been this issue for Iranian cases where the U.S. designated the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is like, I guess, the Marines or something like that for Iran, or there's some subcategory. They essentially do terrorist stuff probably. And said if you've ever been a member of it, even before they were designated, maybe even 30 years ago when it just started, and Iran has conscription where you're forced to join the military no matter what. And if you're forced to join, they're not going to give you a visa. And they've been denying, like, a bunch of cases, marriage, green cards, all that for Iranians who, since January 2020, who were a part of this. Right when they assassinated the head of it, the general, they started denying cases for people that have, they call it the IRGC. They also call it SEPA, SEPAH. That's how people in Iran call it, SEPA. That's essentially this terrorist organization. But based on this update that's happening to the Afghan rule, they did for the Afghans, this is a general update for how they're going to interpret 212 AC, I think, or something like that. So this applies to Iranians. And one thing that's happening in a lot of Iranian media, they're like, oh, they're approving cases for Sepah again. We're all good. And I'm getting a lot of calls on this. But it's not clear yet how this is going to happen. It's going to be discretionary. It's probably going to go into long administrative processing wait times. You're going to have to file waiver-like paperwork to explain stuff. So there's a bunch of legal work. So be prepared if you're getting these calls from Iranians in particular. Always, when you get an Iranian case, one of the first things you have to ask is, where did you do your military service? Potentially, it gets waived a lot of times. Like if you're the only son, or you're too old or too young, or this and that, they get ways to waive if you go to school. But if they did it at SEPA, all these cases, I've been saying we can't move the case forward. Maybe we do the I-130, we hold off on the embassy portion, consular processing, until we know what's going on. Maybe even miss your embassy interview, so you don't have a denial on the record for having a 212 AC terrorism charge or something like that. So now that's reopening. It's like a decision you got to make, and then work on waivers. But it's still not clear how it's going to process, how long it's going to take, all this kind of stuff. So it's good, but it's immigration good. You never know if it's really good or not. So it's something to be careful of.